Right, Dave. The next question I want to ask you about your manifesto is the relationship between governance and empowering members.
Yeah. To be honest, I think governance has become a bit of a dirty word in the organisation, and it really frustrates me. I was at some branch meetings recently, and they were really struggling, and they were struggling to get people into post. And when we were trying to come up with solutions, they just kept saying, governance has said this, governance has said that, governance has said the other. That's not a phrase you used to hear 10 or 20 years ago. So I actually would like to see that whole department completely restructured and said, you know what, we're not going to, we're going to focus on making things open. When I was on council in the 90s, and again, lots of things weren't great in the 90s, but we had less than 2% of conversations happening in private. They were open, there were full minutes, members could go along. If you had an axe to grind, you could turn up, see it. Now it's all confidential. All the subcommittee is confidential. If you're a member out there and you go, I want to see some minutes, I want to know what's going on, it's just all secret. And that puts people off. It stops people standing for posts. It means people don't really understand it. And I don't think it's a coincidence that an awful lot of council members are not getting re-elected and have been for about 8 to 10 years because people go, I don't know what you did. I voted for you 4 years ago and I've not really seen you. Yeah. So I think the whole approach to governance, we should be judging that department on how many members have engaged, how many members have downloaded the papers, how many members have viewed council meetings. I think we should put the whole thing online. How many members are standing in election? What's the turnout? That to me is the criteria of an engaged organisation.
So that quite naturally leads me into another aspect of your manifesto: create an open and transparent organisation.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we should video all of them. You look at Parliament. I can go online and I can see how my MP voted in every vote. I can see what debates my MP said. I could go to Hansard, and I'm not saying necessarily get quite that, but I can read everything they said in the House of Commons. People turn around and say, well, I want to know what Dave Dawes has done on the North West. You can't see my voting records, not public. You can't see anything I said at council, but you can't see half the stuff I say at board. And I don't think that's doing us any favours. I think members, we should be totally transparent to members. If I want to sit and I want to see what the trade union committee is doing, the professional nursing committee, the forum committees, or council, we should just be able to do it. And also, why don't we put the papers out online a week before, so that when you turn up at council, you go, oh, do you know what? Members have emailed me about this. People have given me ideas. People have told me about how this affects them in the local area. I just think it's modern government, really.
Would you be happy to have your voting record made public? Definitely.
Absolutely, 100%. And in fact, one of the things that's somewhat frustrating is when people say, well, you back that. Now, I'm all for corporate, if you take a vote as a group, even if you don't agree with it, if the majority vote, that's fine, we stand by that. But there's plenty of examples where it's patently clear I didn't vote for it. And yeah, okay, I'll support it publicly. But when people go, well, you always said you didn't agree with that. And it's like, yeah, well, I didn't vote for it either.
And again, that sort of leads on to that other commitment within your manifesto, to create an open and transparent organisation. And I don't know whether you need to say anything more on that.
Right, yeah.
Because this is like an integrated answer.
I think members should be able to say, basically it's their money. They should know exactly what's happening. There should be a handful of private conversation. If we're talking about a disciplinary matter or someone's pay, or a staff member's pay, or some really commercially sensitive, fine, okay, you have a bit of a private meeting. But the default now is private. The default is confidential. And so it's almost like every meeting is confidential unless there's a good reason why not.
And then that comes back to your last commitment, is ensure that there's no decision without member involvement.
Yeah, absolutely. It sounds a bit...
Can I just sort of...
Yeah, of course.
Just for viewers, can I just sort of refine that question? Because we have lots and lots of elected officials within the organisation, from branch to board, from safety reps to regional safety reps and national committees. We have the council committees of trade union and professionalness, and you have council. So is it about putting power back into that structure, or is it putting back into the general membership of the RCN, or is it both?
I think it's a bit of both, and I don't want to sound like I'm having a go at staff, because we've got some amazing staff in the RCN, and they work really hard and they do a really good job, and deep down they believe they're doing the right thing for members. But there's a difference between believing you're doing the right thing for members and actually having members involved. So if you look at some of the decisions around Congress as a really interesting example, you know, where are members in those meetings where some key decisions are made? And I see as a council member, we'll sometimes get papers and reports and we'll say, well, who was there at the meeting? And there's no elected member at all. And so I think we need to have elected members in those roles, and we need to make it much more open to the membership. I think there needs to be a much stronger feeling of the staff in the organisation are there to support members and do what members want, not that they drive the agenda and that they make all the decisions and it's all made in secret and people don't really know what's going on.
Because interestingly enough, RCN Congress is in Liverpool now for the next 3 years.
Yeah.
And this has been said especially for the North West members.
Yeah.
And what's your thoughts on Congress being in Liverpool?
So, I mean, I love Liverpool. Obviously, it's great having it in your own region. I think Liverpool's a fantastic venue. I do think some of the other colleagues around the table have a bit of a point when they say it needs to go somewhere else. I mean, last year was historic. It went to Northern Ireland, the country of my birth. We've had it in Scotland. Yeah, we've never had it in Wales. If I was a Welsh member, I'd be a bit like, would like it in Wales. But interestingly, Liverpool evaluates really, really well. And one of the great things we do at the board, and again, it's something that I've pushed very hard for, is we have a very big chunk of money to get non-voting people to Congress. We got 28 members who weren't being funded through the normal routes, funded at regional level to Belfast. And I think this year we'll get more and more, because there's something about Congress, especially when you take a new person who's a bit interested in the RCN and they see the debates and they see forums and they see stewards. I remember seeing you when I was a student talking about being a steward and what you were doing and thinking, oh God, right, okay, that's something that interests me. And we know you get people at Congress, you get them fired up. The more people you can get at Congress, they then become the activists. You know, it is in some ways, it's a bit like we're here at Joint Reps today. You get critical mass of activists together, and yeah, we have debates and we do plans and we do strategies, but it's also, you get to know people, you get drinking in the bar, they become your professional network. To me, that's the heart of the RCN.